Old School Summer Derby 2022. A nice high-tech shrinking of that down. So for this derby, I ended up playing this combo-ish deck. The main part of the deck is Xenic Poltergeist uh, and Time Vault. Xenic Poltergeist is a 3-drop 1/1, and you can tap it to turn an artifact into an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its cost until your next upkeep, and it keeps all its powers. So the idea is you turn your Time Vault into a creature, you attack with it, and then if you have multiple mazes of it, let's say you have 2 mazes of it, then after it attacks, they can block it, maybe they don't, and you deal 2 damage. Or if they do block it, you just maze your own Time Vault and tap it to take another turn. And then maze it again and tap it to take another turn. Which means you get 2 turns with which you can attack and get 2 turns again. You functionally go infinite. So you have infinite turns that you can take at that point. So that's kind of like the combo out of 1 Poltergeist, 1 Time Vault, and 2 Maze of it. Lets you take infinite turns from then on. The rest of the deck is this blue-black-ish commonly played good cards that surround the rest of it, along with Twiddle for the Time Vaults. They just act as extra time walks. Usually I've played this deck in Atlantic instead, where I cut basically all the blue cards. The only blue cards I leave in are Ancestral and Time Walk, and it's mostly a black deck, where you get to play things like Initiates of the Ebon Hand, Order of the Ebon Hand, and then Hymn to Turok, Drain Life, and you get to go much more aggressive and play as a mono-black aggro-ish deck with this backdoor infinite turn thing happening. And I just like Time Vault, even in aggro decks. Is if you've seen my video about Vault Atog, where I just play Time Vault in Atog, I think there's a lot of good things that you can do with Time Vault in an aggro-ish shell. So if you're curious to know how that works, you can go to that video. I won't go over all that again. We'll just go through this deck real quick. We have the mana base, looks pretty normal. It has 4 mazes though. It has a bunch of basics, so I'm not as afraid of Blood Moon. I have 7 basics in there. Has all the power, has 2 dark rituals, has 2 more on the side in case I need to go bigger or blacker with Underworld Dreams, Pestilence, Sanger Vampire type things. The card in front of the Time Vaults is a Sage of Latnam. The card in front of the Chaos Orb next to it is a Balance. Those are altered, so I know that they're harder to read. Other things of note, there's some Hypnotic Specters. Hopefully they get Bolted or Swords to clear way for the combo. And other than that, it's all pretty straightforward in the main deck. On this side, we have the cards that we already mentioned. It has Blue Blasts. And then the 4 cards on the right are Field of Dreams and Millstone. Those were kind of late additions because I realized I had a really hard time with things like the Abyss. And I was thinking about splashing white for Disenchant or something like that, but that would make my mana base way worse and make me weaker to Blood Moon and things like that. So instead, realized Field of Dreams is a world enchantment, and it blows up Abyss. And once you already have Field of Dreams anyway, you might as well play Millstone. And some of the decks that play Abyss anyway are very control-y, and it's the type of deck that Millstone might be okay against. So I decided to go with that Field of Dreams Millstone combination. Ended up working out in a little bit. If you end up watching the matches, I've played the majority of my matches already, so I already know some of what happens. That does come up, so look forward to that at some point. I do take infinite turns on multiple occasions throughout the matches, across many matches, so it happens to come together every so often. There was one match where I played it all the way until I had no cards in my deck, which is relatively unique. There's not many games in the format where you win with no cards left in your deck. So that was interesting, though maybe I shouldn't have spoiled that I end up winning that game, but maybe you don't realize which game that is anyway. A lot of the games end up going long. though a lot of them are pretty short also. They're kind of all over the place. But overall, it was pretty fun. You get to play some Twiddle Vaulty-like turns, however, without Howling Mine. A lot of those turns don't matter as much. One of the things that Twiddle also does, which is probably not as apparent, is not really to always cycle for a random turn. Because the combo requires that Time Vaults be untapped, sometimes you need it to untap the Time Vault to take that extra turn, or to start off the chain so that the Time Vaults can attack. Other times, you use Twiddle to get that extra turn. So Xenic Poltergeist, when you play in the first turn, can get pseudo haste because you get to take another turn and then you can go off. Other times, you just might need an extra turn to play another Maze of Ith because you have to make the land drops and you have to drop 2 Maze of Ith for it. So you can do a bunch of those random little things. You can also tap your opponent out the turn before you're about to go off if they have an extra mana source or something you might want to get around just to be safe. But overall, it was super fun to play, and hopefully it was a combo that people haven't seen much, if ever. And the games have been pretty great. I hope you enjoy it.